All right, people. So we have a very special guest this time. I had to pull out the big guns and get a good interview in here. So for many of you, if you follow this person, you already know she is with the shits. She owes nothing back. So this should be a good and fun episode. And so to introduce my guest, we have Jade, the erotic storyteller, is in the building. What's going on?
Hey. Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Oh, anytime, anytime. Well, I think we're gonna have a good one here. So just because like this is your first time on this podcast, and just in case
Mhm.
anyone didn't know you, I definitely want to give the people an opportunity to get to know you. So, I have the question on here is like, how'd you get into podcasting, and how'd you get comfortable like discussing sex so publicly as you do? But I mean, I know you do more than just podcasting, so tell us about it all. I can't hear you.
Hold on one second. Can
Okay.
you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. So I got into podcasting by simply seeing like a void in what I was interested in when it came to podcasting. So I love listening to erotic podcasts, podcasts that talk about sex, storytelling podcasts. And so there weren't a lot out there. And so I saw a void and I was like, all right, I'm going to either do this or I'm not. It's going to either work or it's not. But on top of that, I am an author. I've been an author for about 8 years. And no, I'm sorry, about six. So I'm an author and event curator. I host events. I have a YouTube channel, podcaster, and I just came into being really open with talking about sex. So once I started really discovering more about myself is when I was like, oh, this is the type of shit that I really like. And so yeah.
What has have you faced like any like stigmas with talking about and being as open as you are? Because you are like you have, it seems like you have no problem at all. Like you are an open book, and that knowledge a lot of people need and everything. But what's the dark side to that for you? Because I'm sure there has to be one, right?
Yeah, it's several dark sides. The main one that I experience a lot is that people come to my page and they don't take the time to read about me. So they just look at it as, oh, she's a freak. She's posting about sucking dick. Let me go into her inbox and see what's up.
Hmm.
So that's to me the biggest dark side that I've experienced. It's just that people are not taking the time to really learn about what I do. They just see a woman posting freaky shit and think that it's the opportunity to shoot their shot.
Yeah, and so like the thing that, and I've been very big on like vocalizing lately, like how as a culture we have this problem where if a woman has the same level of sexual openness as a man, they're like automatically like vilified or like called a
Right.
whore, all these names of thought, like whatever you want to call it. And it's like, why can't a woman experience the same sexual freedom and talk about it as
Right.
men do? Why is it? And I grew up in Europe, so it's a little bit different there. It's like being
Okay, they're
now
more open.
yeah, yeah. So like being now in like American culture and like seeing how crazy some people are about it, it's like
Hmm.
mind blowing.
Yeah, because we're supposed to just be that, the wife and the freak in the bedroom, but, really quiet out in the open. No one knows that we do these things. Supposed to be barefoot and pregnant type of thing. So they still want us to be that because apparently no one wants a woman who is very sure of herself sexually. And it's unfortunate.
Yeah, it's like a form of like repression. Like leave
Yeah.
these women alone. Leave
Right.
them alone.
Right.
Um, before we get into the topics, I have an icebreaker on here, and I don't know a better way than to break the ice than to tell an embarrassing sexual story. So Miss J, what you got?
An embarrassing one?
Yeah.
Jeez. Um, Let me think. Embarrassing. I have an embarrassing masturbation story.
That qualifies.
Okay, so um there was this time where I was like really tipsy and I had just gotten home and I was in the mood to masturbate, or so I thought that I was. I was like, I'm tipsy, like this is the perfect time, let me get it in. I ended up masturbating for a very long time, but I realized that I wasn't necessarily having orgasms. So I just was just down there with the vibrator over and over, and I ended up make it's called the it's skene gland, which is right underneath the woman's G spot. And I ended up that spot ended up swelling up really, really bad, which means it was backed up with fluid because I was not having any orgasms. I was just masturbating,
Oh
and I
wow.
had to go to the doctor, and they gave me antibiotics. And it was a male doctor, and he was like, I was like, so how does this happen? And he said, well, it can just be different things. He said, I just go in the bath and massage it out. And when he said massage it out, I realized, okay, that happened because I was masturbating and it backed up. But yeah,
Oh
that's
wow.
embarrassing.
Yeah, but it's not the worst, but it's definitely
No,
it's
it's not the
educating,
worst.
educational and embarrassing. So there you go.
Yeah,
You got the two for.
yeah.
Um, but let's move on into the topics for today. So this
Okay.
first one, and this one, I figured you'd be great to answer because you do talk about dating and everything openly, and you're also a writer. So like,
Mhm.
as a culture, do you feel like we date correctly? Because like there's this thing of like people spend their time focusing on just one person and feel like that's dating. Do you think like that's the right way to go about it?
I honestly don't feel like there's a wrong or right way to date. I feel like dating is really based on the person. A lot of times people have too many opinions about the way people date, and people feed into that so much, and so then their dating life becomes screwed up. Now, I do believe in what you're looking for, putting that out into the universe. So if it's like, okay, I keep meeting the same dudes, I keep going to the same club, these niggas ain't shit, yada yada yada. So stop talking like that. Start putting yourself in different places. Stop dating these same type of guys. But I don't think that there's a wrong or right way. I think everybody has to date on their own time. After a relationship ends, it might take you 2 or 3 months to get over it. It may take you 2 and 3 years to get over it. So I don't, yeah, it's kind of, I can't really say because I mean, I've learned things about myself in
Hmm.
my dating life that may not work for somebody else. And so I can't be like, no, you need to take 2 years to yourself. After you get out that situation, you need to make sure you do this with him. What I will say everybody needs to do is communicate more. I think there's definitely a
Yes.
lack of communication. And people are a little afraid to admit that, hey, I'm looking for marriage, or hey, I want to have a kid, or hey, I don't want any of that. They're afraid to admit those things in the beginning. And then later on, 2 years down the line, you're still with that person. And then now we're disappointed.
Yeah, and I think too, like to kind of go back off you saying communication too. I think on the flip side of that, you also have to respect when people do communicate those ones, because a lot of times people will
Mm-hmm.
think like, oh, well, I can convince him he wants to get
You can
married. I
change
just
it.
need some time, or I can convince him that
Mm-hmm.
he wants to have kids. And it's like, no, if someone communicates where they are mentally in their life, you have
Yep.
to trust that. Now,
Yep.
if they're open and say, well, I don't know if I want to get married. I don't know if I want to have kids. Then you
Right.
still have to be open to, once they do discover that what they
Right.
want, that
Right.
that dynamic may change, and people get so caught up in trying to force what they want on people or thinking that they can
Mm-hmm.
change someone's mind, that they end
Mm-hmm.
up wasting years and years and years, and you're stuck just looking like, all right, why?
Yep. I see it as people fall in love with the potential. A lot of times we see potential in a person that they may not even see in themselves, or that's not even there. It's just like, oh, he could be a good husband, or he could be a good father. But what has he really shown you that makes you feel that way? Or are you just ready for this? And so you're putting that pressure on him now to be these things, because I've done that before. I thought like, oh, you come from this type of family, you got all of these things around you. Why would you not want that? And it was like I wasn't paying attention to the signs he was giving me in the beginning. So,
You gotta watch those signs, man. Oh
mm-hmm.
man, like
Cause they there.
yeah, it's funny how like people will ignore it or be blinded by it just because of like their emotions or feelings, and it's like you, you're really just doing a disservice to yourself when you do that.
Yeah, yeah, you're hurting yourself at the end of it. Yeah, you got to pay attention, and the signs be so obvious, which is crazy. A lot of times they're just right there in your face. I was like, oh, he did show me that. Like, damn, why didn't I listen?
And then like too is like, and then like you said, when people do see the signs and then they ignore them and think like, I just did a podcast where I said that a lot of times people think that if they just love someone enough they can love through some shit,
Mm-mm,
and love isn't
mm-mm,
enough sometimes.
mm-mm. Mm-mm. That's how I feel about with sex. A lot of people feel like, oh, I love him, and sure, the sex is not great, but I love him. And it's like, no, you're lying to yourself. If sex is important to you, then you need to make that important in the relationship. And it's like, don't front, don't act like it's not important, because 10 months, 10 years down the line, when he's not satisfying you, and now you're stepping out, or now she's stepping out. And
Yeah.
it's like, y'all should have been talked about that, or you should have decided then, like, you know what? Yes, he might have this much money in the bank, but I have other needs as well. And those needs, need to be pleased.
And yeah, be like, don't ignore your needs for anyone else's vanity.
Right.
Yeah. So that's what's up. All right. I think we answered that one pretty well. This next topic though is a funny one. I just wanted your take on it. So like this man in Texas mailed an edible chocolate penis to his current girlfriend's ex-husband.
Mm-hmm.
Faces 6 months in prison for this.
Mm-hmm.
What was your response, your like reaction to reading?
So when I read it, I thought it was funny. And then when I saw that the husband was a sheriff, it made sense that all of these charges are coming on him.
Exactly.
He didn't do, yeah, it was distasteful. Like, all right, bruh. Like, obviously you're trying to make it known that you and my wife had some sort of something going on. We've already, because I think he had been harassing them several times before that.
Yeah.
So it's like you've already made known what was going on. All right, the chocolate dick, ha ha ha. Like, make a joke out of it. But no, because he is in the sheriff's office, he's like, nah, I'm gonna make you pay for this.
Mhm.
Like, I thought it was funny though. I was like, come on, nigga, really, a chocolate dick?
And me even being on the other side of it, I may be like, you know what, this dude is a dickhead. But I could get the funniness in it. Like some
Yeah,
people just need to chill out, and it's an abuse of power.
right. Yeah. Oh, he probably got, like the article says, he probably got right up off his desk, went right into the other room, and was like, listen, I need you to look into this. We need to see what charges I can place upon this man. Like, yeah, I thought it was funny. I mean, he didn't do any harm, really. Like,
It's no harm. Like I get it. It's only 6 months, but at the same time,
that's
to
a
give
long
up
time.
any to give up any time of your life for a,
Hmm.
a joke, no matter how immature the practical joke is, it would be different if somebody got harmed in it. But for this,
Right. That's what.
come
Yeah.
on now.
Yeah. It'd have definitely been different if he would have tried to hurt him or poison him some sort of way. I'm like, come on. I would have laughed at it with the people in the office. Like, look at this nigga. He's just mad. Like, because my wife is still with me.
just just wild stuff, man.
Yeah.
Just chill out, people. It's not that serious. Like but yeah.
Yeah, that
of
was a
all of
funny
all
article.
of all the stories of like what people do to like ex lovers and stuff like that, like this is at the bare end of that, like the low end of the.
Yeah, because I've read some extreme stories, like crimes of passion, where people are really killing people because of their feelings. So this was nothing.
What's one of the craziest things someone's admitted to you? Like, because you do the questions
Ooh.
and everything. What's a wild one that you read and you were like, you know what? I don't know if I want to share this
So I get a lot of wild stories. First of all, I get a lot of men opening up about their sexuality, which I love because I'm like, you guys need a safe place. But the wilder stories to me are the women who are married and been married for over 10 years, who have boyfriends, because no, and no disrespect to men, I've always felt like men are usually the ones to step out.
one.
That's just what we think. So to hear these stories about women who literally will be sending the posts that I make to their boyfriends, and they'll be like, yeah, I'm married, but oh, your post and me and my boyfriend, and can you tell me how to do this with him? And I'm like, listen, I have morals, and I'm not about to teach you how to give fellatio to the man that you're cheating on your husband with. Like, I can't do that. So those are some of the crazier stories. Of course, anything happening in the public, I get a lot of stories about people having sex outside, and doing random stuff on trains and different things. I had one the other day where this lady said a guy she was talking to Skyped her, and he was getting head from someone else. She was at the airport. He Skyped her, called her. He was getting head from someone else. She watched as they were, in the act, and then she ended up masturbating on the flight. At first, I wanted to be like, okay, girl, you just really put that on thick. But then I'm like, there are some really wild people out there. I'm like,
Yeah.
this is most likely a true story.
Yeah, and like even in doing this podcast, like some of the stories we get, I'm like, come on now, you clearly made that up, and then I'm like, you know
Right.
what?
Yeah.
Ah, I can see that, and
Yep.
it's yeah, people are wild.
Yeah.
Especially like this whole hot girl summer. Like I feel like people use this to do the craziest shit in the world.
Yeah, I don't really care too much for the hot girl summer, and I know a lot of women are probably not gonna like this, but I just feel like no one. Oh, I feel like, okay, right now, these couple of months, you're about to be turning up. You want to get with every man you can get with the bag, get flown out with all these different things. But then as soon as it start getting cold, you're gonna be posting about wanting a man and all these, and it's just like you're confusing the universe. You're confusing yourself. Like, you can be very open with your sexuality and own that, because I'm all for that. But then there becomes a point where it's just like, all right, girl, like, I don't know. Like the whole cucumber thing, I'm just like, all right,
Oh Jesus,
I'm tired of this.
man! It's just gotten worse and worse, and it's like really a
Yeah.
cucumber. Like this is where, and the thing is like people, I think they label it kind of under clout chasing and stuff like that, and I
Mm-hmm.
get that, and it's like you guys are doing stuff for social media or whatnot, and it's really like what damage to you are you doing that to?
Right. And
Like
how is it really paying off for you?
yeah.
Like, I mean, a lot of those women, I know, as far as that big party that they had, and all them women was out there sucking on cucumbers, fucking cucumbers. I'm pretty sure, I'm hoping that some of them left with a bag. I hope. But it's like, what are you really gaining from this besides a week of social media popularity? It's just like, come on, baby. Yeah, I'm over
And
that.
it's like and I get that some people like the people that actually like monetize their page or use it for brand like
Mm-hmm.
and how they like clout chasing a different way, not with specifically with the cucumber thing, but some people are literally just after likes and follows, and it's like you're
Yeah.
not gonna turn around and use this to make any money at all.
Right.
What are you really gaining from it?
Right.
So
From being on live putting a cucumber in your vagina. But
yeah, hey,
yeah,
life
that's one of
continues.
those. I try not to give too much, I try not to dig too much into that conversation, because I do talk about sex all the time. You know
Mhm.
what I'm saying? I'm very open with that. But I also feel like there's a level of respect that you just have to have for yourself. You can be a freak and, own that. But just because I talk about sex doesn't mean I'm walking around like, yeah, bitch, bust that pussy open. Like,
And that's what they take it as. Like, yeah, and then like even me like talking about sex and like being a man, everyone automatically takes it as like, oh, you got hoes, you a player, you this, you
Right.
that, and it's like, no, I'm just open and talking about
Right.
what we all have sex, we all have sexual
Right.
desires.
Right.
We talk about it. I feel like so many people like repress their true sexual
Mm-hmm.
desires, and then it comes out and it manifests itself in different ways. Like when you see people
Mm-hmm.
with attitudes, when you see people like just kind of tense up anytime the word sex mentioned. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
what? This is something we all do.
All of us do. And sometimes the people who ain't talking about it are the biggest freaks behind
Yeah,
closed doors.
yeah,
The ones who are afraid to admit that they touch themselves, they're the ones who is doing some wild things behind closed doors. But it's like, if we are doing it, we should be able to talk about it. Like, I just
yeah.
feel like we're humans and we're adults, and why are we not talking about it? Especially as Black people. Like, we really need to engage more in the conversation. We need to make sure that even the younger generations are talking about it, because they just out there living wild, and it's like they're not even respecting their body parts and understanding their body,
Hmm.
but they're just giving it to everybody, and it's just like, come on, y'all, we gotta talk about this stuff.
Yeah, and then we see shows like Euphoria, and
Woo,
then wonder
that
why, like that's by people not talking to their children.
yes, yep,
Like it.
That show is deep. I
Yeah,
can't even imagine being a teenager now because it's so good because it feels so real. It's like this is happening.
yeah,
It might look different at a predominantly black school. It might be a little bit different, but it's literally the same stuff going on. They're doing drugs, they're drinking, they're having sex. People are struggling with their identity and their sexuality. People are being abused by their parents. All that. That show is.
yeah. And
They
as
did that.
my oldest is 13,
Hmm.
and it's like, yeah, it's a little awkward watching the show and then looking at him and being like, "What the fuck are you doing?" But
Right.
it's made me realize the importance. Like me and my kids have very open dialogue and conversation. It's making me realize it's good that I set that foundation early because I truly think that I can talk to my kids about anything. That doesn't mean it's not going to be awkward for them or me, but we have that. We've gotten to that point to where we can talk about anything. So
Hmm.
it's
That way,
important.
if something ever takes place in your child's life, they're not going to be afraid to come to you and tell you because a lot of times our kids are afraid to come to us out of fear of how we will react to it. And you want them to have a safe place within the home because a lot of stuff happens outside of our homes.
Yeah,
Things that, our kids may not realize is bad. And so they're not saying nothing. And it's like, no, like, you
yeah,
need to tell me so I can go
exactly.
kill somebody.
Big facts, big facts. Oh man. The next listener question that we had submitted to us. This one is it I can't I guess I could answer it as a man, but I wanted to get a woman's perspective on it. So this one is we women often talk about how men don't show emotions and are not vulnerable enough, but often also criticize men for putting emotional weight on us. So my question is, what separates a man from being emotionally selfish and sensitive to just being vulnerable?
So when I saw that question, I am at first I was like kind of confused, like wait what? But then I thought about it, and I had someone ask me recently about male sensuality,
Mhm,
and that's what that makes me think of, and that goes back to the way men are raised, and how they are raised to separate emotions from certain things.
mhm,
How we, kind of say, oh, man up, don't, you know what I mean? Like, you'll be all right. You hit your finger and it hurt, but you gonna be all right. You know what I'm saying? Like, you a little boy, you don't cry. And that we continue that pattern, until they are grown men. And as women, we want them to understand us emotionally and to have an emotional connection with us equally. But then at the same time, when they show a more sensitive side, we're like, damn, you need to man up. Like, why are you
yeah,
acting like that? So I feel like that's where she was going with that. And it's kind of difficult because we're trying to change something that men have been so conditioned to feel or not feel for so long, but then we're also not doing our part as women to make them feel comfortable or give them a safe place to be vulnerable. So I just think it really starts within like the relationship. I don't know how to change every man. I'm doing my part by creating a safe environment for men to open up, but I can't answer for everybody. I know for me and my relationship, I make sure that I'm creating a space where he can be vulnerable. We can talk about emotions. I'm not going to make him feel like a pussy because something made him sad that day. You know what
yeah.
I'm saying? So,
And the way that I describe it, like for me in my personal journey, is like
mhm.
I was taught so long. My dad was a military man, so it was maybe even more so like, hey, just rub some dirt on it, don't say shit else.
Right.
And yeah, that comes naturally, and that's how we were taught and raised. But I think oftentimes women will know that that's how we're raised, and then think it's like a switch. Like now that when we get with them and
Oh
we're
yeah, you're
adult,
going to immediately change.
yeah, like, oh well, now be vulnerable. We don't
Right.
know how to be. And
Right.
and I understand it is a difficult weight on women to sit there and deal with stuff as we figure out things that they learned early on. And of course it's more
Hmm.
natural to them. But sometimes you do have to be patient with us. And I don't mean sit there and wait in the situation that's emotionally unhealthy for you,
Right.
but
Right.
if you see something, and if that man's not trying to be selfish, if he's not trying to just take, and he's really just saying, hey, babe, I'm just learning. I'm just
Yeah, like give
learn.
me some time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
work with me. And
Yeah.
it's 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 like if you always tell a kid, hey, don't touch that door. Whatever
Mm-hmm.
you do, if you touch that door, I'm gonna beat you. Don't touch that
Mm-hmm.
door. Then all of a sudden, when they're 20, you say, "Hey, go to that door." You don't expect
And
them to
walk through
escalate.
it.
Yeah.
Like what?
So and yeah, it does put a lot of weight on women, and that's why
Mm-hmm.
black women are so amazing, is because you guys love us through all of that shit.
Yeah.
Through us
But
trying to
you
figure it out.
we do, and but it is also rewarding for us because yes, we love you guys through all of that, but you guys love us through all the shit that we got because the same way that we have to understand that you guys can't just turn that switch off and become this man that we want you guys to be all of a sudden. You guys have to understand as well what we're dealing with as women and how to, you know, maneuver through our emotions and things like that. So it's a give and take because women are very emotional creatures. That's just who we are. So I can imagine for a man, like, all right, I know my baby had a rough day today. Let me not go in acting like I don't care. So I think it's a big give and take. So yes, we are amazing, but we're amazing because our black men are amazing.
Seeing that's the type of lifting up we need to do to each other.
Mm-hmm.
I hate seeing like the whole who has it worse, whose pain is worse
Mm-hmm.
post on social media with men and women going back and forth. I don't engage in it. I just really look like this is like there's so much that you guys are articulating, but you're articulating in a way to come at someone rather than say, hey, this is what we're going through. Let me try to educate you on it. Let me try to also learn from you. Let's stop measuring pain. Like what who wins in measuring pain?
Nobody.
Exactly.
Nobody. Actually, y'all both end up losing because y'all gonna both be bruised, sitting in a corner, like, damn. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, no, no. I don't like those kind of conversations either. And I don't like. I recently was talking about this with my boyfriend when that whole Nicki Minaj thing and Joe Budden stuff was going
Uh-huh.
on. I don't like for the way some women talk to men. I feel like and I know this could rub people the wrong way, but I just feel like as women, like why are you yelling at a man like that? Like
Yeah.
I just think it's so degrading, and it's not just degrading towards him, but to yourself. And I just think we just got to do better as a community, have more conversations, more like this. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
I don't always have to be interviewing a female or having a female on the podcast. Like bring some men in so that we can have these conversations together. Let's create like I love doing panel discussions and getting both men and women involved because we need to come together and talk. We have to heal in so many different areas of our life. Like and it
Right.
starts with us helping each other.
Yeah. There you go. Help me help you, I guess is
You
what.
know?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. So the next listener question is this listener is into some shit, but this one is I've been into BDSM for the last 3 years. I was
Mhm.
introduced to it by my ex over the course of our 2 year relationship after we broke up. I found another Dom that I had a purely sexual relationship with. And I recently met a man who I want to pursue a relationship with, but he is completely against anything remotely BDSM. How do I get him to be more open into at least trying?
Oh, okay. So communication.
Hmm.
First and foremost, like I'm gonna always push that because you can't assume that everyone's freak level is the same, especially
Exactly.
when it comes to sex. Communication is very important. And when it comes to something as deep as BDSM, communication is extremely top at the of the list. When it comes to that community, like that is the number one thing because there are so many things that are going to take place during those acts that if you guys don't have communication, someone could be hurt. You know what I mean? Somebody could lose their life. Like it's so many different things that can happen. So I would tell her to take it slow because if he's against it, he's going to be against a lot of things that you bring up to him. But if you educate him, um, show him that, okay, although I'm into this, we can take baby steps.
Hmm.
Don't show him any porns with BDSM in them because those are very extreme. Maybe take him to an event where they're teaching. Like, for example, there's an event in Atlanta called Sex Down South. You can take him there, and there's these workshops where they'll learn about how to bond, bondage and just different things as it relates to BDSM. So she's going to have to take baby steps because that's extreme. And if he doesn't like it, then he doesn't like it. But if that's what you love, you're going to have to make a choice.
And that goes back to something that we talked about earlier. Like you have to be honest and meet people where they are. Like
Yep.
you communicate that need, and that's a firm need from you, and he tries, and it just doesn't get to the point where you need it. Then you do have to make the tough choice of severing that
Yep.
relationship,
Yep.
unfortunately. But you shouldn't be forced to go without something you need, and he shouldn't be forced
Yes.
to do something he's uncomfortable with. So what's
Yes.
the only option there?
Well, if it don't work, it don't work. Or, he could be open to saying, hey, I'll allow you to have a Dom, because just because you have a Dom doesn't mean you're having sex with this Dom. This could just be coming
That's true.
in to fulfill certain fetishes that you might have. And he might be like, all right, listen, I'll compromise with you. I'll allow you to see this Dom once or twice a week to fulfill that need. And then we just live about our life anytime after that. But that still goes back to communication. Like, at the end of the day, they're going to have to talk. She's going to
Yeah.
have to really explain it to him, allow him to see it in the way that she is participating in it, because she may not be extremely into it like that. She may just like to go get spanked every now and then,
Hmm.
but then it might be extreme. So it's like you need to allow him into your world, but also allow him that space to be like, you know what, I'm not ready for that, or I need a little bit more time, and just be understanding. And if you can't wait, you can't wait.
True.
Like,
And like you said, communication and education, because like I think so many people now like see BDSM as like 50 Shades of Gray, and there's so
and
many
it's not
more levels
that.
to it than that.
Yeah.
And so like just like you were introduced to it over the course of 2 years, the writer, you can't
Mm-hmm.
expect him to just jump in because you
Mm-mm.
didn't either. Like that's it's too much. It can be so overwhelming
Mm-hmm.
on with every side that you're on it, that like it can take years to really get and even find
Yeah.
like so.
Yeah. And to find what you like, because although she's had a boyfriend who introduced her to it, she's had a dom for a little while, she may still be learning a lot about herself when it comes to that community.
True.
So they could be learning together. Uh, but communication.
Yeah, communication, communication, communication.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we have hit the last question for this
All right.
week. You ready for
Mm-hmm.
this one?
Yeah.
All right, this one is can each of you tell a story of how you first discovered whatever sexual fetishes that you have? How did you go about developing the fetish?
So, of course, I'm going to go first.
Out ladies first. And your guess. So,
All right. So, the fetish that I recently, I'm so embarrassed, even though I've shared this many times on my podcast, but the fetish that I recently realized that I have is a cum fetish.
mm,
And it's it's not to the extreme of like I need it in a cup or no crazy stuff like that. And that's not crazy, no judgment.
okay.
But more so of just really loving my partner's cum, either in my mouth or my body. And I realized that I loved it so much because I'm always thinking about it. And it's like, oh my God. And I had to go do some research on this. I said, I have a problem. And I realized, okay, wait, no, this is a real thing. Like, a lot of women are, yeah, have cum fetishes. So that's mine.
that's that's what's up. So research and that okay. And I think often like a lot of people think like what's wrong with me first, because like mine is
Yeah.
I have a foot fetish.
Okay. And
And
that's
so
that's common.
yeah, and so
Yeah.
like but at first like as I was growing into that, like it didn't seem like it was normal. Now of course as I educated myself, it's common as hell.
Yeah, that's
But
usually the first fetish that a lot of people have, because it's connected to listen, I don't want to get the medical terms messed up, but it's connected to something that has to do with up here.
okay.
Yeah, I'll have to send it to you one day. I had an article that I read, and I'll send it to you because it's some connection in the body, and it's why people are so attracted to feet.
Ah,
So it makes
I
sense.
didn't even know that. Yeah, I mean, and my thing is like at first, of course, it was like weird. Like, okay, why do I keep looking at her feet? Why do I keep looking? Okay, why am I thinking about sucking her toes? Like, why is seeing her put lotion on her feet just got me wrecked as hell? Like, it was just a whole thought process, and eventually, it was just like, fuck it. It's not like, even if it is weird, okay, I'll embrace it. But of course, now I realize that it's not. And
Yeah.
I think ultimately, like, and it goes back, like, you have to be in tune with you. Whatever,
Hmm.
whatever gets you going. Don't. It's a handful of other people in the world that feel the exact same way. So right
Exact
then,
same way.
stop feeling like you're the only one, because you're
Yep.
not the only one.
Nope.
But even outside of that, like, if that's, as long as you're not harming anyone else, embrace it. And
Hmm.
sometimes even then, if you are, some people are into being harmed. So like, it's like,
Yeah, you know,
yeah.
as long as y'all sign some consent forms and we all good, then hey, you spank them with the needles that's in the paddle and all that stuff.
Wow. Uh,
Yeah, listen, that it goes down. But no, you're right. Like it's even for myself, as much as I'm into this community and this world, this erotic world, I did feel like once I discovered that, okay, I have this fetish, I was like, yo, this is crazy. Like, there's no way. What is this? But then once I started doing research and started educating myself, and then I was like, okay, there's a million women and men who have this exact same fetish.
mhm.
And I was like, all right, I'm good.
There you go. You're not the only one. That's a very
No.
important thing to know, and stop like that, because like that feeling will paralyze you, and it's like,
Hmm.
there's no need for it. There's really honestly no need to feel like you're the only one.
No.
Well, Jay, I want to thank you. Like, I know I kind of just threw it out there and asked you to come on. I can only
Yeah, no
imagine how many
problem.
DMs you get, but I appreciate you taking time out to guest
This
on.
month has been busy with podcast appearance requests. So, hey, I'm all for it. I love it. I just love being able to, talk about what I do and to engage in conversations about sex. It's what we need to be doing.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And what happened to your page? Like, so somebody reported you? Is that what happened?
No, so that makes me so sad just even thinking about it. But a lot of my posts were getting flagged back to back to back to back for nudity, all types of explicit content. And so Instagram was just really cracking down on their guidelines and, when it comes to sharing content. Um, and so recently it was post after post after post that was being deleted. And they were literally sending me each post that they deleted as they deleted it,
Oh
like,
wow.
okay, this is the fifth post, this is the sixth post. And I said, you know what? It's about to go down. They're about to take my page down. Because like once they showed me a list of the posts that they took away from my page, I was like, okay. And I posted something. It was a drawing. I posted a drawing of two people, pencil drawing. I was like, okay, there's no way they're gonna be able to tell what this is. And as soon as I put it up and went back to my phone, it was gone. My whole page was gone.
Wow.
I said, God damn it. But this is why it's really important to have, for people who have businesses or are just trying to build a following, to have an email list, to engage on other platforms,
Hmm.
just to send them in other places, because we don't own these platforms.
Yeah.
So if they want to silence you for whatever reason, they're going to do it. And then you're going to lose all of your following. So I'm thankful to have following in all these different other platforms, because I don't feel like I'm lost. I
That
definitely
makes
felt
sense.
lost that day.
I I can only imagine, like, is much as I've worked like over these 2 years to really build my audience and stuff, like, if all
Hmm.
that was, if I was just to wake up and all that be taken away, like, I would be so frustrated.
Yeah, I couldn't even function that day. And I remember someone reached out to me on Snapchat and he was like, Jade, listen, I know you in your feelings right now. He was like, but we need you. I'm gonna give you a day to get your shit together and get on your backup page and engage with your people. And I was like, wait a second. Like, I was like, I'm in my feelings right now. Don't be coming at me. But he was right. Like, you
Yeah.
still have these fans who are looking for you and who still want to see your stuff, and they're gonna find you.
Yeah.
They'll figure out a way to find you.
And
So
and what you are, honestly, one of the most engaging people in like this creative space,
I
because you
get that a
keep it
lot.
going. Like, it's always a question, and then you're answering questions,
Hmm.
then it's a separate post to make people think, like, you really have a routine down. And I think a lot of people can learn from that, because
Hmm.
that's something that I struggle with on, like, other than posting the episode and posting clips here and there. It's like, all right, what do I do? And like, I'm
Right.
watching like what you're doing. I'm like, okay, I can
Yeah.
learn something here. So I want to thank you for that because you
Oh no.
definitely are a great example of this community of engagement.
Thank you. I realized that I knew I wanted to be a little bit more than what the people that I follow and that I look up to were, because I wasn't getting that from them. I couldn't go into their inbox, tell them a story, and they actually give me a response. And
Mm,
so I was like, I can't just be dishing out you guys all this stuff, trying to sell you guys my books, trying to get you to my podcast, but I'm not actually engaging with you. I'm not building these relationships with you. And then when I saw that people love that and I enjoy it, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna keep this going. Like, I love the stories. The only time you get blocked from my page, and I rarely do this, but is if you send me dick pics.
mm.
Or you know what I mean? Like, if you get out of control, and I have had those. But for the most part, people are just confessing their wildest little secrets to me, and I love it. Like, I wanted to set myself apart in that way.
That's what's up. You definitely
Yeah.
do a great job of that. So
Thank
now you're
you.
welcome. So since we've just talked about it, go ahead and tell them where they can follow you and engage with you.
Well, my backup page is well, no, my new page now is Jade underscore erotic underscore storyteller two, the number two. I am on Twitter at Jade the author. I am on Snapchat at Jade Erotica. You can go to my website at passionafterdark.com, and all of my information is there. My podcast, the Passion After Dark podcast, that's on all streaming services. Yeah, just somebody else has posted my stuff, so you can find me through
That's a
somebody.
fact. That's a big fact. Well, listeners, I want to thank you guys for joining us across this. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed this. You know where to follow me, and we're out. Peace.
Bye bye.
Bam. Thank you. See, that was
You're
fun.
welcome. That was great. I thought I was gonna be like over here like